What's the difference between a novice and an expert, between an amateur and a professional in any field, and especially in our field of yogic numerology and healing? Well, the answer, in my mind, is always the same. Do you have the whole picture? When we look at something like numerology and related fields, people will often say, what does this number mean? What does it mean in this position? Well, there is no answer that is that clear, because a number is in relationship to all the other numbers in every other position, in relationship to a cycle, in relationship to the story of that person's aspects in their life at that moment. In other words, it's all interrelated. It's called relational. And this applies to every field. Let's look at music. Let's look at a symphony. It begins with a single note. And then after a few notes, we can see that there is a whole page of music that comes forward with chords and melodies, rhythms, whole sections, new instruments, perhaps even a choir. And after a while, we're no longer wondering what was that one note and which instrument was playing. We're watching a symphony. We're listening to a symphony. We're taking it all in. Even those who play are taking in the whole process, not just watching note by note. And the conductor, which is our job as people who counsel and heal, is to pay attention to both the instruments and the audience. So the difference between an amateur and a professional is the little picture and the big picture. The little pieces of the puzzle and the whole puzzle in relational, interdimensional, many aspects. Now, here's an example. Someone may look at numerology and say, hey, it looks like you have a 7 and a 7. 2 sevens. But if in the formula we use in numerology, the 7 is on top of the 7, if that's the way it appears in the formula or diagram that you're using, it's not a 7 anymore, it becomes a 1. Like any fraction, any number over another number that is the same becomes 1. This is one example of the many different aspects that you learn when you are professional versus amateur. And this applies to life. When we look at the little picture, we miss the big picture. You can't have both. It's important always to have your eye on the grand scheme of things. You may have to pay attention to details at the moment, but you always have to keep in mind the bigger picture. It's a lesson in happiness. It's a lesson in success.